It's the weekend. Welcome to Massey United Insurance's Line and Length. It's a cricket program where we look at the sport not only in the region but internationally as well. I'm Barry Wilkinson, and on this show this week, is Sunil Narine ready? And if he's not, when will he be ready to return to international cricket? Why did he pull out of the World Cup? We're going to examine that issue today. Also, the South Africa-West Indies series is over. West Indies losing 4-1 in the one internationals. Of course, we all reviewed the tests where they lost 2-0. But we look carefully at the captaincy report card of Jason Holder in his first stint as captain. We also see that Brett Lee signs off. It would have been a spectacular end to his career had he won that Big Bash finale. We look back at Brett Lee's career. And on today's show, we're going to have a guest who's played cricket professionally in South Africa and many other places. All this and more to come on Massey United Insurance's Line and Length.
Across the Caribbean, more people are placing their trust in Massey United Insurance for the protection of the things that are important to them, their homes, businesses, and their prized possessions. That's because Massey United Insurance offers excellent general insurance coverage to help you manage whatever life sends your way. Our cadre of well-reputed agencies and trained insurance professionals are always ready to provide you with sound advice and prompt service. Choose the security and sound strength that is Massey United Insurance.
Welcome back to Massey United Insurance's Line and Length. With me this week, Franklin Stevenson, former professional cricketer, played a lot of cricket in South Africa. And of course, our co-host, Andrew Seeley. We look very carefully, first of all, gentlemen, at the Sunil Narine issue. And it's one that is not really surprising because we know that Sunil Narine pulled out of the World Cup squad now because he says he doesn't think he's ready to return. It was in October last year in the Champions League when he was called for throwing, and since then he's taken upon himself to do his own rehabilitative work. Franklin, from your perspective, looking at his action in the just concluded Nagico Super 50, did it look any different to you?
No, I didn't see a difference at all. You know, I don't know if the authorities actually told Sunil Narine what he had to actually work on. I know that in the case of Shillingford, he was told that he couldn't bowl the doosra. Now, we used to throw the ball, the doosra, in the dressing room, you know, but you had to bend your elbow. So the authorities outlawing the doosra now because you've got to bend your elbow in order for the ball to come the other side of the forearm and therefore go away from the batsman. So I didn't see a difference. I thought he actually added some pace the way he was getting the ball into Chandra Paul and those guides' pads. But I don't know what the authorities actually said to him. I didn't see a massive difference in his action. And to change his action basically is pretty much getting rid of a couple of balls that he actually bowls. So I don't know. You asked if he's going to be back. That's a very, very tough question to answer.
Andrew, Henry Wallace made the observation that the knuckleball that he used to bowl and the same doosra that you're talking about are two deliveries that he's not seen Sunil Narine bowl. In the first two matches he played, one match he actually went wicketless, and in the other game he picked up 1 wicket. He would have known that he's not going to be playing, or he was going to pull out the World Cup squad for the final. He got 6 for 9. Did you see any of those deliveries that we did not see during the tournament?
I thought I did, Barry. I'm not expert, and I admit, but I certainly thought that Narine was bowling, when he was bowling the final against Ghana, obviously with the intention of taking Trinidad and Tobago Red Force to victory. He looked very determined, and I'm sure, almost sure, that he bowled those 2 balls. I'm sure that I saw the knuckleball, and I suspect that at that stage, some kind of a discussion might have been entered into with Sunil Narine, suggesting to him that this World Cup is the biggest international stage in the world, Frankie. And if you get called at this World Cup, it probably could be the end of you. At age 26, I believe he is, there perhaps is an opportunity to skip World Cup 2015 and look towards 2016 as a return.
But Franklin, what can be done to alter an action like Sunil Narine's, but still have the same devastating effect that he has?
No, you can have it too. I think I must admit to not watching the first couple of games that he played, but I did see the final. And when you get, you know, off spinners getting left-hand batters every W, you know the ball's going the other way, and at serious pace too. Yes, we saw those balls in the final. So as Andrew said, it could have been, well, he knew he was going to be out, and if he was called then, or a report or whatever, it wouldn't have any more effect on the competition, and Trinidad were going to win it. But what can be done? Who knows? You know, you work hard enough at doing something, chances are that you can get it done. I know that Frank Wirrell, with a right-arm bowler, damaged his hand and the actual ball left-handed and took 200 wickets, you know, so, and that happened in his teenage years. So it can be done, but to remain as devastating, you know, you're devastating because you're getting the ball to go both ways very subtly and fool the batsman. So if you cannot take it the other way, then there's not a lot of mystery there, so it's a whole new bowler coming.
Some people feel that the International Cricket Council are to blame for this because they bent the rules, quote unquote, no pun intended, because Matai Militharan used to bowl with if not the same action, the same devastating effect. And as a result of doing that, he bowed out after 800 test wickets. They probably did not expect so many chuckers to come into the game. Sedanaika, he came in, he was called. Williamson from New Zealand has been called. Saeed Ajmal, he also has been called. We've had Mohammad Hafiz. We also had Shabir from the Pakistan side. A number of players since Militharan have been called, and I think that the ICC now find themselves in a situation where they've allowed the matter to be out of control. How do you think Narine can come back as a short-term measure from this particular stage, seeing that the ICC is watching him? Is there a comeback?
Well, he's just got to work hard. He's got to, if he loves the game, he can actually go, you know, take some video, get some guys to look at him or whatever, the right people, and work away with it, and just take the, you know, try to straighten the arm out. That's the key to throwing, is that your elbow has to bend. You know, if you were throwing with your wrist, then Courtney Walsh never bowled a ball in his life, you know. So your elbow's got to bend, right? So if you can straighten his elbow before delivery and still get the same effect, or similar to, then he can get it made. But I think it's going to take a lot of hard work and dedication, and only Sunil Narine can answer that question.
In terms of the mental aspect, though, Frankie, which I think is perhaps the more fundamental point, having been able to bowl so devastatingly or to such a devastating effect, if you then go about changing your action to accommodate to get back into international cricket, and then you don't have the type of success that you've had before, what would that do to you from the mental aspect?
Well, he's sure to play for quite a while if he comes back with a legal action and everybody's estimation. And then it's up to him to actually develop if he can be, you know, dangerous to the batsman per se. But, you know, the reports, I mean, knowing of Sunil Narine before he got into international cricket, one coach said that when he bowled, he said he was a seam bowler. And he said, no, but you're not bowling, I'm sorry. He said, well, sir, I can bowl spin too. He said, well, go ahead and show me. And that's where it came from. So he does have an action where I don't know how, if he normally bowls seam and it's not legal, and he's bowling spin now, and that gets outlawed, I think it makes it doubly hard for Sunil Narine personally.
Andrew would have seen a lot of the cricket. Overall, what do you think of the standard of the Nagico Super 50 this year?
I think a bit disappointing. Well, perhaps let me start at the front. And I think one of the challenges it had was the rain certainly affected it very badly. Not attempting to defend the Barbados Pride, having lost out perhaps because they might won a couple of matches were rained. But I thought the standard was not the best. We did see some performances which were outstanding, obviously Narine's performances. Some of the batting appeared quite good, but generally, I think one of the issues, as mentioned by, I think, more than one manager, was the tournament remains too short. To only have to play 3 matches in a 50-over tournament for your season, Frankie, certainly can't be enough. I mean, 3 matches is literally 1 week. The tournament extended a little bit because there was some days in between. But I think overall the tournament was too short. The champion team and the runners-up play 5, 2 others play 4, and the other 6 play just 3 matches. Not good enough.
No. You thought, Franklin, in terms of, I mean, we know that Trinidad has it for another year. Players have often complained about not playing at first-class venues, or first-class venues that, you know, when they're playing Test cricket, you know, is a whole different thing. So the West Indies Cricket Board would be under pressure to play the majority of the matches at the Oval like they did last year, but they had to you know, because of the complaints, they had to outsource it to Cova, UE Spec, and Tobago this season. But a lot of the matches they were rained out. How can clubs improve their facilities? You have a fantastic academy which I think can host a first-class match. How can clubs improve their facilities to get the WACB or even a local boards to look at them more seriously?
Well, surely we have a fantastic arena, but it's only small, as in we couldn't host big matches, but it's ideal for 13 and under, fantastic for them,
As well,
Yeah, I mean, it's, I had some teams come, they talk about hitting these big sixes, but you had to shuffle behind the ball and bat properly in a sense. So, but I think that having it in one place is definitely going to help in the sense that it's so expensive to travel and move around to different venues, and traveling in the Caribbean is very expensive. I think if they know that they have another year now and they have the love for it, they can actually help to develop some of those grounds to the standard. Some of them just need a couple boundaries pushing back and a bit more development putting in, but definitely you need to really pay attention to your pitches to make sure that they produce the even contest that you want. But then the size of the ground is going to be, for both teams. But then, they can still do some top dressing on those outfields, to make sure that the guys have a good experience. So I'm happy, and then look at playing more matches. You're staying in one location in a sense. So get the competition up to, a double round or something before you go into the knockout stages. But my main pet peeve about this is that we've sort of landed first-class cricket on the teams in the region without properly preparing the players. And we know that the cricket is substandard already, so the best that you can do for it is to really get those fellas to focus as young professionals and really put the work in before they step onto the stage. And we're not saying that work ethic put in. You've got a lot of babies lying on the physio's tables for too long, and then when they step onto the pitch, they're not consistent enough. And they've just learned to bowl, but the key to that is that yes, you can bowl, now you've got to really hone your efforts and develop balls. It's no good just to bowl the ball to the other end and say my foot's behind the line, it's going through the keeper. Guys can have a look at that on the screen and say, all right, I'm ready for that, like what the Villiers did, and then you can't bowl a decent ball because just when you think that you want to bowl the ball straight, that's what he wants. So you've got to be able to change your angles, your pace, without the batsman noticing, and then he is going to have the onus on him to say, well, I cannot take many liberties because I don't really know what's coming. But all too predictable and way too weak are bowlers. They're not putting the ball in the right place. It's not threatening. And then batsmen or batsmen in the region have been woefully lacking in really dominating our local bowling to make them work harder before they get onto the world stage.
All right, great stuff from Franklin Stevenson. Well, he played a lot of cricket in South Africa. We're going to bring up that topic next. The West Indies leaving South Africa yesterday. In a very sad state, heading to the World Cup, beating 4-1. We're going to look carefully at the captaincy, first time up of Jason Holder, and we come back on Massey United Insurance's Line and Length.
Across the Caribbean, more people are placing their trust in Massey United Insurance for the protection of the things that are important to them, their homes, businesses, and their prized possessions. That's because Massey United Insurance offers excellent general insurance coverage to help you manage whatever life sends your way. Our cadre of well-reputed agencies and trained insurance professionals are always ready to provide you with sound advice and prompt service. Choose the security and sound strength that is Massey United Insurance.
Playing cricket for West Indies is hard work. That's why you need the best shoes.
Bowling fast is harder than it looks. And don't forget batting, I can do that too.
You need to have the best equipment to achieve optimum results.
Being in the center, all eyes are on me. Gotta look my best.
For over 3 decades, Sports and Games Barbados Limited has been outfitting professional, amateur and young athletes with the best gear. Whatever your sporting needs, you are sure to meet them there. Corner of James and Roebuck Street.
Sports and Games, we are the home of champions.
We're back on Massey United Insurance's Line and Length. Well, like a lamb to the slaughter, the West Indies really were plundered in that one-day series by the South Africans. Not only were they beaten, but the manner in which the South Africans went about, compiling runs was merciless, I tell you. In one match, the last game, they actually scored 360 runs in 42 overs. Could you imagine if that was going to go to 50 overs? We might have seen a world record.
Another world record.
Another world record. Now, Jason Holder, brought in to captain the team, clearly was visibly shaken after the match. Let's have a little listen as to what he said after that 4-1 drubbing.
I've learned a lot, obviously, no doubt. I didn't think we tick our boxes in it, and when we bowled, especially, we were very inconsistent. When we batted, we just lost wickets in clusters, and we never really got going in the series. Credit to us when we won the game in Port Elizabeth, but then we just fell away here in the end.
Yeah, that was spectacular in Port Elizabeth, and well done for that. The wickets, losing wickets in clusters is something happened in the Test matches, the T20s and the One Days. How do you overcome that? How do you get that right with an important World Cup just around the corner?
Well, it's just for the batsmen to just take responsibility when they're in, just have to stay in. I think we have to bat the scenarios a bit better than we're batting them at the moment. And I think it's just batsmen just putting up my hand and taking the onus and just batting through the innings.
And how are you placed, do you think, with the World Cup? I know you guys are not going home. You're leaving tomorrow, I believe, for Sydney. How are you placed, do you think?
I think we were well placed. We obviously had a few guys coming in into the squad, Darren Bravo. Unfortunately, Sunil misses out, but we'll have a replacement for him. But I'm very confident with our chances in the World Cup.
Okay, and lastly, the tour of South Africa. Have you guys enjoyed it?
It was a good tour, on and off the field. Obviously, it was a very competitive series. A lot of guys first time here, but I think it's a learning experience for us, and we just be better than when we came back this time.
So, gentlemen, I almost feel for Jason Holder, because I get the feeling, Andrew and Stephen, that Franklin, that he was thrown in at the deep end, and it's a situation now where he doesn't seem to be getting the support he thought that he might have gotten. That's how I feel from seeing the situation unfold.
But I agree with you, Barry. I think it was patently unfair, and I think we suspected this is what would have happened, and it has come home to roost perhaps quicker than we thought. The South African team is a devastating team. De Villiers, by far the best batsman in the world. Hashim Amla, the greatest compiler of runs I've seen for a long, long time. And then you toss in Du Plessis and David Miller, plus the bowling. I mean, it's an
Riley Russo.
Riley Russo, who's brand new virtually. I mean, I don't even know if Franklin had ever heard of Franklin Stevenson. Riley Russo, where has he come from? And I'm saying to play that team at home. They scored 434 in one game, and now 361 in 42 overs. And you can look at Jason Holder and see that he was totally lost. And what made it even worse is that it did not seem, from my distance, as if the senior players actually went to offer any assistance to him.
No.
There was
I got
no
the
evidence.
I got the impression that Jason Holder was swimming alone.
All alone. And again, in the River Thames, frankly.
It was sad. It's sad in the sense that you all think that it's an opportunity. Oh, great, play for the West Indies or captain the West Indies. But are you ready? This is a world stage you're stepping on, and you might be undressed, being chucked up because you want to jump onto the stage. Jason Holder, even before this competition, before the tour, every time he bowled, you can tell from the commentary panel, and they go into debates like, what does he need to do to improve his bowling?
Or to bowl faster or whatever.
All these questions are being asked. And really, instead of going into a workshop or even taking a little sabbatical and going and working hard, he was chucking at the deep end to go and captain the West Indies. Now, he's got a bit of talent to bat as well, but he doesn't not sure what his stage or standard or position in the team is going to be, because the game changes so fast. His game is more suited to the long version as a batsman, but then is it suited to the long version as a bowler? I'm not so sure it's suited in, because he needs to take for instance, you had Joel Garner, tall, fast bowler. What were his weapons? Think about those: a Yorker and a bouncer, sudden bounce, but the length as well. Those are things that need to be worked on. He needs to understand his strength and then work towards it as a bowler. But those things are almost out the window, because he's now got not only another 10 players out there to be looking out for, but then the whole region. And the turmoil that the region is going through and all the questions are being asked has been lobbed on his shoulders. So I think it was totally unfair. You want to do things, but make sure that when you're going to move something, you've got something to put in its place. Otherwise, you're hurting the region's cricket yet again.
How do you see now the West Indies going to play in the World Cup? They have Ireland, they have United Arab Emirates and Zimbabwe, the three teams rated below them. But then above them, they have Pakistan, they have South Africa, and they have India.
I don't know. I think our batting at times, our middle order batting, if it comes off, it'll win a game for you. But apart from that, we are in the same bracket as Zimbabwe and Ireland in this competition. Our bowling is weak. and the batting is not very consistent. So it's almost as though they're not quite ready for it.
You think, Andrew, that the West Indies could beat Ireland, or do you think Ireland could be capable of pulling off an upset? They've done it before. They've beat England right at the World Cup.
I think Phil Simmons is probably chomping at the bit right now as the Irish coach, looking towards the possibility of Ireland going straight to the quarterfinals of the 2015 World Cup, given the fact that he probably believes now, with some reason, having watched the last 2 weeks of activity in South Africa, that Ireland could beat the West Indies. And that is very sad. And what adds to it, Frankie, is no Sunil Narine. Who will we go with? We're not sure. I mean, there's so much discussion. In fact, we are at a position now where nobody knows. There's no automatic player. People are suggesting Carlos Brathwaite, Versamy Permaul, Nikita Miller, Carlos Brathwaite. I mean, there's so many options, none of whom inspire any real confidence.
No, that's the stage of our cricket at the moment, and even now you would hope that these guys will be working away inside some sort of like a cauldron. You can then look and see who's improving, put them in a couple of test scenarios or something, because that's where the cricket needs to be at right now. We need to be playing a lot of cricket behind the scenes and really working and practicing in order to build something, to take forward. But like you said, given that you've got a few guys that if they're 2 or 3 guys strike or whatever, the West Indies take a game from almost anybody. But I won't say anybody, because right now the guys on the world stage, they have studied the lot, even the big hitters and so on. They know their strengths and so on. They will get away with a couple, but they're not going to be as consistent because they don't change shot up like a De Villiers or a Hashim Amla. And so we are not able to compete on this stage at the moment. We're just to participate right now.
All right, we're going to keep abreast of that. Next week we're going to have a special preview of Cricket World Cup. Of course, it starts February 16th for the West Indies when they play against Ireland. When we come back, a quick look at what has been happening overall in the world of cricket. Brett Lee plays his final T20 game and much more. Stay with us.
Across the Caribbean, more people are placing their trust in Massey United Insurance for the protection of the things that are important to them, their homes, businesses, and their prized possessions. That's because Massey United Insurance offers excellent general insurance coverage to help you manage whatever life sends your way. Our cadre of well-reputed agencies and trained insurance professionals are always ready to provide you with sound advice and prompt service. Choose the security and sound strength that is Massey United Insurance.
Playing cricket for West Indies is hard work. That's why you need the best shoes.
Bowling fast is harder than it looks. And don't forget batting. I can do that too.
You need to have the best equipment to achieve optimum results.
Being in the center, all eyes are on me. Gotta look my best.
For over 3 decades, Sports and Games Barbados Limited has been outfitting professional, amateur and young athletes with the best gear. Whatever your sporting needs, you are sure to meet them there. Corner of James and Roebuck Street.
Sports and Games, we are the home of champions.
We're back for the final segment of Mass United Insurance's Line and Length. It was so good to see a guard of honour placed for Brett Lee during the Big Bash. He was a devastating cricketer. We'd have spoken about him a lot on the show. He said that he was retiring from all forms of cricket after this T20. Did retire, of course, from Test and ODIs before, but he was still playing active T20 cricket. And it would have been really nice if his side had won that game in the final, but he was treated very well in his hometown, Australia. Were you a Brett Lee fan? Because he had his problems too with his arm and his action.
I never really considered that he was any. People always concerned that he was a chucky because he was bowling quick, but I thought it was fair, and I was always very impressed with Brett Lee. The amount of effort he put into the cricket, fantastic bowler, really put it in. He didn't have a big variation, but he had raw pace, and then to put the sort of feeling effort into the field, it showed his love for the game, so it was good.
What's it about, Franklin? You're one of them. What's it about these slim, fast bowlers? Brett Lee, Glenn McGrath, Michael Holden, Franklin Stevenson. Slim guys who bowl so quickly. How is it?
Aerodynamic. You don't have enough time to, the food that you eat isn't going to settle and create any fat on you because you're out there bowling, in order to perfect an art of being a fast bowler. I've got some kids there, our kids, people complain about the wides and no balls. I don't want the attitudes to fall because they will come. You're running in from a distance and you've got to get your foot behind that line every time. You also got about a 2.5 foot margin to bowl the ball into. And so it takes a long time to hone your art and in effort, and that's where our guys fall down in the Caribbean. You see our youngsters have put on so much weight, and they're supposed to be training to improve in their sport, So, but no, once you're honest, the energy, food that you eat becomes energy for your body to use to develop the action, and that's where you've got so many tall, slim guys of the past, just, not that we didn't eat, we left it out there on the field.
Okay.
All right. The IPL auction is also coming up. We're also going to have the Lima Call CPL auction. That's not officially announced yet, but it's expected to be early February. Interesting to see where some of the team members will go. But in the IPL auction, we're going to have a situation where will Darren Sammy be bought because he was released? Will Samuel Badri be bought because he was also released? We know that Gale, Bravo, Pollard were retained by their respective franchises. But Marlon Samuels is back in the thick of things. He's one of 5 players who is likely to be sold for a pretty high price. You're surprised that Samuels has made it back? He's fought tremendously to get back there because many thought his T20 career was over.
No, I think that certainly Samuels is definitely one that will get in. He has performed exceedingly well. In fact, if we look for standouts in the recent South African series, Marlon Samuels would obviously perhaps be the only one that really stood out. His batting has come on. Obviously, he's played some what I think Brandon described as unbelievable shots or unbelievable ways to get out. But certainly he has performed. And I think if you perform, you will obviously go forward. And I think Samuels has performed.
Remember, Marlon Samuels was there before, and it was a shock to a lot of people that he didn't get his contract back. Yeah. But his problem there and then was his behavior towards the rest of the team, his attitude that didn't fit in with the team.
But he's not vice captain of the team.
For the World Cup.
Vice captain of the West Indies team.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm talking about the T20 team, the IPL team, and some of our guys
group dynamics.
Yes, a lot of attitude that doesn't fit in directly or as soon as possible that people want. And those teams need to be a cohesive units that will pull together and pull wins out of thin air at times because they're just such good team players. So that's what the majority of those coaches are going to want to see when they're putting their teams together. So that was Marlon's challenge in the first place.
All right. Well, Frankie, I want to thank you. Andrew, as usual. Interesting discussion. Don't forget, you can tweet us anytime. You can also send your emails to cricket@lineandlength.net. We love to hear from you, and we'll respond to you on the show. That's it for another week of Mass United Insurance's Line and Length. We look forward to a preview of Cricket World Cup next week. Bye-bye.